Good morning, guys. It's Mr. Smith here. I have a short video lesson for you today, and this is going to be about a man by the name of Socrates. We watched we watched a video the other day about the Agora and the place where people went to learn, to talk, and to buy things. So this is where Socrates basically lived his life, in the Agora. And this is going to be about uh, what he taught and how he taught and how important he was even still today. So he is nicknamed the father of Western philosophy. Philosophy is just a way of thinking. So who was Socrates? Viewed by many as the founding figure of Western philosophy, Socrates is at once the most exemplary and the strangest of the Greek philosophers. So when it says strangest, it's going to talk about here in a minute how his strange tactics and his strange appearance. So let's just go with unique. He was very unique in a number of ways. His style of teaching, immortalized or known as the Socratic method. So listen to this. This was his teaching style. Maybe you've had a teacher like this. Involved not conveying knowledge. So right now, I'm conveying knowledge. I'm just speaking to you. But what he did was question after he asked question after clarifying question until his students arrived at their own understanding. So he wasn't just straight talking in the middle of the Agora. He was questioning everything. And he was having discussions with his followers, with his students, about he was questioning, and he was trying to get them to their own understanding. So they were talking about topics that didn't really have. It wasn't like 2 + 2 = 4. It was topics about politics, maybe, or something that didn't really have a set answer. A lot of times in social studies, that's what we have. We don't really have a set answer to each question. I hope that's making sense. So he used questioning to teach his students, to get them to arrive at their own understanding. He wrote nothing himself. So the things we know about him are from secondhand accounts. So it's not like we can go in the library and find a book by Socrates. He didn't write anything down, but his students did. And one of his famous students was Plato. And I have a Plato quote in my classroom. So Socrates had a huge impact on people like Plato, who actually wrote down some of his teachings. But let's think about this. If he is not writing things down himself and someone else is basically writing his ideas for him, don't you think it could get a little messed up? Whenever it's a secondhand account, things could get changed a little bit. It's not coming directly from the source. So keep that in mind when we're trying to research things about him. It's a little difficult for people today that study him. His early years. Socrates was born and lived nearly his entire life in the city of Athens. His family had a moderate amount of wealth, and he started his career as a hoplite, which is a foot soldier. As a foot soldier, Socrates showed great physical endurance and courage, rescuing the future Athenian leader, Alcibiades, maybe, during the siege of Paideia. Through the 420s, Socrates was deployed for several battles in the Peloponnesian War. The Peloponnesian War was the battles between Athens and Sparta, but also spent enough time in Athens to become known and beloved by the city's youth. His philosophy, his teachings, here we go. Socrates was a strange figure in Athens. He would go around barefoot, long-haired, and unwashed in a society with incredibly refined standards of beauty. The Greeks were all about looking nice and beautiful and appearance, but Socrates did not live by those standards. It kind of reminds me a little bit maybe of today's society, maybe like a hippie or something, possibly long-haired and barefoot, that kind of stuff. So he was unique. He was different. And it didn't help that he was, by all accounts, physically ugly with an upturned nose and bulging eyes. So here's this crazy guy, looking guy, walking around the Agora in Athens, saying all this stuff about life and wisdom and virtue. And people actually like him. But he was an easy target. It's going to lead to his death here in a minute. His lifestyle and eventually his death embodied the spirit of questioning everything. Every assumption about virtue, wisdom, and the good life. The Athens wanted to live the good life. The Athenians wanted to live the good life. But he did not he did not care about appearance or wealth. He was unique. We keep going back to that. Very unique for his time. So lastly, about philosophy, Socrates was also deeply interested in understanding the limits of human knowledge. Listen to this. When he was told that the oracle at Delphi had declared, so the oracle is like the thing that makes predictions. We talked about that with ancient China. The oracle at Delphi declared that he was the wisest man in Athens. But Socrates did not believe it. But here's where his genius came in. He realized that, although he knew nothing, he was, unlike his fellow citizens, keenly aware of his own ignorance. So the fact that he understood that he didn't know everything led him to believe that he was actually the smartest man in Athens. So, no understanding that you know little, there's so much to learn in this world, and understanding that you don't know it all actually leads you to being more smart, less ignorant. So, I like that. That's pretty cool stuff. The trial and his death. In 406 BC, his name was drawn to serve in the Athens assembly. Even though he had a lot of opinions and talked a lot out in the Agora, he did not like politics very much. But we talked about the lottery system a little bit, and his name was drawn. Then a tyrannical, the Athenian government changed from democracy to tyranny. One person gained control. They ordered Socrates to participate in an arrest and execution of this Leon guy. He knew it wasn't right, so he refused. It was an act of civil disobedience, blatantly refusing to do what the king or the tyrant said. So Martin Luther King Jr. would cite this event in his letter from a Birmingham jail. So Martin Luther King Jr. cited this event from Socrates in his letters. Now are you understanding that Socrates was an important guy if Martin Luther King's talking about him? Justice. So Plato, all right, this is his death. He was sentenced to death for the refusal of executing this guy. So Socrates was sentenced to death, and this is what Plato said about his death day. He appeared both happy in manner and words, as he died nobly and without fear. He drank the cup of brewed hemlock, and that is poison, his executioner handed him, walked around until his legs grew numb, and then lay down, surrounded by his friends, and waited for the poison to reach his heart. So the reason I put that in there is because he took the death with grace and basically honor. He didn't try to fight it too hard. He just he went out peacefully and happy. When most people would not go out that way, they would go out bitter and hurt. So his legacy. We're talking about legacy all year long. Here's the legacy of Socrates. Nearly every school of ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, from the skeptics to the Stoics to the Cynics, have desired to claim him as one of their own. So that goes back to how unique he was. These totally opposite types of people, skeptics, Stoics, and Cynics, they're all different, wanted Socrates to fit into their mode. They're basically fighting over him. He was a skeptic. No, he was a Stoic. No, he was a Cynic. So you're never going to find anyone like that in history. Since all that is known of his philosophy is based on the writing of others, the Socratic problem, or Socratic question, reconstructing the philosopher's belief in full and exploring any contradictions in secondhand accounts of them remains an open question facing scholars today. All right, so all that means is, like I've said before, it's hard for scholars today to figure out if these writings by Socrates, or if these writings by Socrates' students actually portrayed his beliefs. When it's coming from a secondhand account, you're not sure what Plato might have changed in Socrates' beliefs. So I hope that makes sense. Lastly, and moreover, Socrates' life became an exemplar of the difficulty and the importance of living, and if necessary, dying, according to one's well-examined beliefs. So he died fighting for something he believed in. He died because he stood up for the guy that got executed. In his 1791 autobiography, Benjamin Franklin reduced this notion to a single line: humility. Imitate Jesus and Socrates. So Benjamin Franklin is comparing Jesus' humility to Socrates' humility. So that is heavy stuff coming from Benjamin Franklin and Martin Luther King with the letter from the Birmingham jail citing Socrates' events. So this is part of his legacy. This is Socrates. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'll have a little question for you to answer. Thanks, guys. Let me know if you need anything. Have a great day. Enjoy the snow. And I'm not sure how to stop this.